Okay.
Okay, we're live, I believe.
Cool beans.
Let me
Sorry about that, everyone out there.
Oh, we're late. We'll blame him.
Yeah, there we go.
I didn't mean to hold the party up. Sorry about that. You don't have to worry. I won't be here long.
Well, I got to tell everybody who you are first. So just
Okay, hold on.
He's just a handsome guy who
guy.
stopped by and decided to join the party, right?
Yeah, that's right. Some random guy. No,
Because it's all the way live. This party is live.
That's right.
All the way live.
that's right. So, in case you're wondering, I'm Sheila. This is Conscious Conversation Central, and yes, the Gal Pal Posse is +1 tonight. We have Albert Rush, who is Lisa's husband, has decided to join us for this conversation, at least for a little while, right?
At least for a little while, yes. Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Peace out. Love.
So we are going to talk about how we are each unmasking love absolute. And I want to also say that today is Monday, June the 22nd, 2020. And BZ, this was a topic that it's sort of the last one in the series of these 3 days during this portal. Do you want to share sort of where you were going, where you wanted to go with this conversation?
Well, it's interesting because the big thing now is masking up and masking to, in theory, be protecting for others and not having to have things that are from within you coming out. You know, they'll use it as the virus and this, that, and the other thing. But if you look around, it's also the time of unmasking everything. So unmasking the truth of who you are, unmasking the truth of how all of the structures and systems work, the Justice Department and all these kinds of things, unmasking exactly how the governments work, how the different governors in each state are working and what their real agenda and motive is. And so it's interesting that there's a mandate, and even though they're not newly passed laws, to mask you back up. It's like putting the cat back in the bag, and the cat is way out of the bag and just, has its tail wrapped around the handles of the shopping bag, and it's, running around. What my cats used to do, that they'd run in the shopping bag and they like the clatter, so they'd go even nuts. But it's an interesting play that they're trying to put the cat back in the bag, and they can't, because people are waking up, and that's why there's more of a push to mask. So the unmasking of love absolute came through in this series of the portal and the energy with the eclipses, and it'll be bookended on July 4th in just a couple days, a week and a half, that when we unmask love absolute doesn't take sides. Love absolute is absolute. So there is no, I stand in this quarter, so I agree, and over here, well, I don't agree, because it's for all. It is a vibrational field. It is a actual cohesive structure. It's an envelope. And as I talk about it, the pulsating and the the field of it, you can reach out. It's all around you. It's within you. But you can start to notice, like we were doing with the bowls last night, you can start to notice that it's palpable. You can feel it. You can be cognizant of it right here in this moment. And when you at least play with the idea of unmasking it, you can no longer, either intentionally or or unconsciously, hide from the force that is love absolute. So you can't brush it aside. You can't, it's another way to say is you can't keep pretending that you're small. So why is it, I mean, it's happening whether we're actively participating in unmasking it. So make no mistake about that, because we talk a lot about the critical mass having been reached with the vibrational frequency, and the beings that hold that and can wield that fierce cohesive structure of the vibrational frequency of absolute, of polarized expansive intent. And the critical mass is by the gravitas of those beings that hold it. And they keep, that is such a, it's actually, critical mass is kind of a misnomer, because it's beyond that. It's so locked in, so amplified, I'm struggling with the words, the vibrational resonance, clarity, and purity. So the signal strength, the purity of the signal strength, and the purity of the light, the purity of the consciousness. So if you're looking at your headlights, right, and you can have just your standard headlights that come with the vehicle, and if it's not a very expensive vehicle, they'll have a certain amount of ampage and wattage, and light that will give, because there's minimum standards for an automobile, right, that have to have for safety and all that. But then you'll see that quality, that beam, the intensity of that will change depending on the make of the car. And then you can get aftermarket lights, right, which have a more brightness to them, have more clarity, and of course they can't hit a top end, so that's just kind of a linear interpretation. I'm not sure why I came up with vehicle lights, but the clarity in the critical mass of the light intensity is such that not only does it, when you think, and the they thinks, well, okay, if they can nudge the critical mass down, so peel off or dissuade or change minds or get rid of enough players, then that critical mass will drop. Does that make sense? So if we need X number of people on the team that are hitting the critical mass, so we either convert some to stop doing that, or we get rid of them, or whatever it is, then there'll be less critical mass. It doesn't work that way, because it isn't by number, it's by the signature and the depth and breadth and refinement, clarity of the signature.
Yeah,
But
that's what was coming in for me, was the signal strength.
Right. But it's beyond that, because it's set up, not right word, it's kind of a placeholder. It's set up a loop. It's like, if you have a fountain, the water shoots out of the fountain, and then it goes down, and then the water in the pump in the bottom recirculates the water, and it comes, right? So we've hit beyond the critical mass with the purity of an intensity and hyper accelerated reverberation flow, that it keeps filling itself. So should some people get siphoned off because there's misdirection or something, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It keeps replenishing itself, because that's what we've set it up to do.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Albert. I didn't mean to cut you off.
There is a lot of this that the ones that don't want to, that as the water comes back around again, it goes in a circle through the chambers and back. But the one that's burst off from that and don't want to stay in the side of the circle, those are the ones that normally dies out, and dries up.
Right.
Sooner or later, all this is they're gonna see where if they don't see it now, they will see it, or they will feel it.
Right.
Because without the circle of love, you can carry on with all this mess as long as you want to. But if you don't have the circle of love in your heart, a lot of people saying this is for they love because they love themselves. Yes, everyone should love themselves, okay? But the love that you give for everyone else, what makes the love inside of you continuous.
Right.
See, you can't be selfish with the love that you have for other mankind. You can't be selfish with that. You have to let it go. You have to treat each one the same. You have to, no matter which one it is, who it is. All of this crazy stuff, everybody's falling behind on it. They think a lot of them have a purpose, a good purpose, and I know this, but a lot of them don't have the love. And the one that say they have the love, they love goes for the other way. It goes in the other direction.
Right.
It's starting to split off in the other direction. When you got both, you got positive and going together. But when you get that negative, you can tell it because look at the ones that's splitting off. Look at the one that's doing all this craziness.
Right.
How can you say you love yourself and you don't love other man like you do yourself? You see, you can't do that because when you do, you're not unmasking.
That's right.
You're not unmasking the love. You're covering it. You're smothering it.
That's absolutely right. Yeah,
it.
and it's not love absolute, and it's also very that love is subject to a very narrow scope.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not love.
No, it's not. It's not because you're still masking that because it's very narrow.
Right.
You're still masking it, So yeah, it's where the whole thing is this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine everywhere I go. I'm letting the light shine.
Mm-hmm.
In the morning when I wake up, and when I lay down at night, I still let this light shine. See, but a lot of people see it in a in a Christian way, because if you don't have that love in a Christian way, it's not true love.
Right.
But that's not the purpose, because it has to be. Yes, your true love is in a Christian way. Okay, that's good for you if you want to. That's where your everyone is at with that. Okay, what about the everyone else that not that Christian person? Don't say we don't have love, because we do have love for you, them, and they, and everyone else in this world. See, because we show it different than what you do. We don't hide behind that cloth of the ministerial, because we let ours go. You see what I'm saying?
Well, then interesting that you said the cloth of the ministerial, and the masking is
the mask is that cloth. Yes,
right,
exactly.
Right?
You see where I'm coming from? The mask is that cloth.
Yeah, masks come in all shapes and sizes too.
Oh, yeah.
Right the way. You are so right about that.
Yeah.
I want to take a moment and welcome some of the folks, because I got some comments to share with you, Albert.
Oh, okay.
Bailey Lane said, hello, lovely people. Jennifer Brown said, oh, yay, a special surprise.
I know.
Yep, she said, don't leave.
Well.
Well.
Lori Wheeler says hello. Deneen
Hello.
Deneen Peckinpah said that she loved the image of trying to put a cat back in the bag.
Oh Wow.
There's big old cats out there, and they're not going back
Yeah,
in the bag.
no, they're not.
So Fawn Denmark is in the house, as is Karen Fine and Lori Wheeler. And Donovan Martin said, it's crazy how so many people buy everything the media reports. It's like going fishing and everyone has a hook in their mouth.
Right, right, right. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, and that's so true.
So
true.
Tiger ate me is in the house. Teresa Blackburn has showed up. Hey, Teresa.
Teresa.
And let's see. Fawn wanted you to know, BZ. She went back last night and I actually received 2 different pictures that folks took screenshots of the light show that was happening around
Yep.
you last night, BZ.
Oh, cool.
So Fawn,
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I'd like to see those, yeah.
Lavender Dreams said, love that. Can't be selfish with love. And she said, she also said, you are so lucky, Lisa.
Oh,
Yes.
No, I am lucky. I am lucky.
we are lucky.
Well, it's interesting that last night, I don't know if you saw that, Albert, but the image of the light that was coming in and all of those
Oh, yes,
rays.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw
But
all of
that's
that.
actually a good kind of a picture representation of love absolute. So there's a source of it, and it just keeps beaming. It's a non-depletion. It never runs out. In fact, the more that it's beamed, so that you beam it or I beam it, or if we get up in a connection and we're beaming, mutually back at each other, and then we're also refracting the light and the love absolute in different directions. It's increasing the vibration of it, and it's increasing the disbursement trajectories. It's also increasing the kind of the source, the well of that fountain, to keep having more of it.
Right.
Yeah.
When you try to mask it or hold it in, or just have the cloth, the mask of the cloth.
Right?
Not a cloth mask, but the mask of the cloth.
Out the cloth. There we go.
Right.
Yes.
Doing that, then you see that again, it's trying to filter things out, and it's trying to say you, but not you, or this, but not that. And right now, it's important to unmask love absolute, because it will be such a joyous thing for each being when they do that, when they fully connect and truly realize that it's all right there, and you've had it all along. You've had full, think of a fire hydrant. You can open the fire and the water it just keeps gushing, right? Because it's in the main line. It's attached to the main line, and it's bringing out. So you can mainline love absolute right in your own being and to everybody else. And we're just about there at this place of where things will be unmasked, and revelations will come, and having your own personal knowledge that you can avail yourself and connect to, that the main line of the love absolute is going to be essential for you to be able to deal with what is coming forward. And that will be your tool, your backup, your support system, what is it, the thing, if you pass out, they give you the smelling salts. So if you're traumatized by something, if you have that main line of the love absolute, that will help you through all these things that are going.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Well, Teresa, my sister, actually spoke to that too. She said, I used to tell my husband, the more you give it away, the more you expand. Right. So I really feel like that's along the lines of what you guys have all been chatting about there. Lori Wheeler said, I'm going to be listening, but I need to lay down. Might fall asleep. Hello to the infamous Albert.
Oh my.
Yes, he's
Oh,
relaxed.
Kevin
Waking up.
Westring just showed
Yeah.
up, and
My ankle
Kathy
still.
Ashby's in the house. Thank you guys all
Yay.
for coming. That's so awesome of you. But I wanted to share too that, okay, so I was a little surprised. Kathy Ashby shared that there's a ruckus going on at the White House right now. And so
What?
I was very interested to know, and she shared that there's rioters at the White House. Reporters were evacuated. She's not sure why. And she said it's a little bit quieter at the moment. But so knowing what is going on right now,
Yeah.
this entire weekend, right? This big,
Yes.
huge portal of energy. I
Mhm.
mean, we're remarking on the fact that we've had fireworks here in our teeny
Yeah.
little town now 3 nights in a row.
Right.
So, what does all this mean? Could be nothing, but honestly, I feel that just what you're speaking to there, BZ, we have to, the ubiquitous they, are trying in every way, shape, or form
Yep.
they can, in every method available to them, because they are aware that
Oh, you
this.
make no mistake about it. No, people may kind of think, oh, that's nice, this energies, or that's nice, the solstice, or that's nice about, this eclipse or that eclipse, or yeah, I read this kind of cool thing. But they absolutely know about it. They absolutely know that not only are the cats all over the, Sources multiverse out of the bag, but that this is the my metaphors that are coming in are very strange tonight. But when you see what we just had, the launch of the rocket, right? And going up to the space station. So you know how it has a certain amount, they burn off a certain amount to get to another stage, they let that go, so it reduces the weight and the payload, and it keeps going. And so using that metaphor, the rocket, not only of love absolute being unmasked, which is, everything else that's layered underneath that will be huge, of the unmasking and revealing, and in that truth. Use that metaphor I use about above the fold and below the fold headlines. All those things are included, and it's just going to start rippling right back up to the top, big story at the top of the newspaper. But so they know, in this particular window, they understand and what the significance of that is, and the power of that is, and look at all the things they've thrown out at this, and the really unprecedented quickness of the turnaround, that they're not working. And it's been big stuff, right? Pandemic and this and that. You've got a huge city, Seattle, where I live, and a huge section of it is just like this wasteland that's been taken over, but it's an inside job from the council members and the governor's office and the mayor's office, right? So it's not little stuff, but it's not working.
No, it's not.
So they're doing everything that they can to thwart that, because it's already been done in the the etheric. But here's the thing, that's why we're having a conversation. Many others in various ways are doing the same kind of thing in this window, at this last moment of the portal, is that we've got to declare it. We've got to recognize it, play with it, and each individually and then collectively say, we're unmasking it.
Yes.
Well, see that, and that's the whole. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, I was just going to say, the importance of love absolute in these situations too. Like, was it Fawn mentioned? Whoever just shared with us about the White House situation.
Kathy. Yeah,
Kathy. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Okay, so in that case, those of us who are unmasking our love absolute, that love being beamed at all the hot spots right now, will actually expedite the unmasking like what you were talking about with Seattle, we're now beginning to see what always was, which is our leaders, our elected officials, are not exactly looking out for us.
They're not.
And it's real easy to pretend when they're smiling at you and saying all the right things, right?
Right.
So this moment of now is glorious because we're unmasking the players who have been two-faced, if you will. And the love is actually forcing that.
Yes.
And I keep thinking about my van scenario too. The first thing that I did was send love. And then I asked, now, how is this good for me? And what I learned was the best thing that could have happened was to get the criminal element out of the neighborhood. The police officer who actually arrested the people that stole the vehicle said that this individual was terrorizing the neighborhood. Our vehicle was vehicle number 4, and they couldn't find him. And I feel that the reason that they found him in my van is because of love, absolute.
Right.
It was absolutely what was the highest outcome for everyone involved. So that's the beauty of love. You don't have to dictate the outcome. You just send love because it will be the highest outcome.
Yes. And love without attachment, love
Yes.
without delineation, love
Yes.
without, well, yeah, except for you, Rep Ambassador. Yeah, but you weren't, you didn't give me a present, or, that's not love.
Yeah.
That's
No, it's
reaching
not.
into something that we think is linear, but it's not love.
Exactly.
Well,
That's
before
not
we
love
get
at
too
all.
far down the
See,
pike here, I need to say that Kevin Westring said good evening to everyone. And
Good evening, Kevin.
esteemed guest Albert, thanks for joining tonight.
like what?
Yes, Steve.
Kevin
Yeah.
said, he said, good evening, Gal Pal Posse and esteemed guest Albert. Thanks
Oh,
for joining tonight.
well,
And Teresa said, when a shadow knows it's been seen, it certainly triggers its ability to hide. And
absolutely.
East World said that they've been using it against us for so long, the
So long.
energy, till people started waking. Hello. And Donovan, actually, this is a question for you, BC. Donovan Myers says, I was thinking truth is only going to come from within. What kind of disclosures does BZ think is going to come out, and where is it going to come from? Trump, maybe? And one more thing. Ojo, Lisa's dad, is in the house, and he said,
Hey, Dad.
hey, Lisa and Albert.
Peace, my brother.
We need to get a headset splitter so Albert can have 2 ears and Lisa can have 2 ears.
Right. Right.
Instead of listening and leaning.
Yeah, I have to stay very close.
Well, the first thing I would say is that we are, whether you know it or not, understand it or not, or believe it or not, we are multidimensional. So the idea of one individual singular truth doesn't exist. It's what's true for different beings from how they're looking at and align, and them being the extra for them. So what I would say is that there are going to be revelations, unmaskings, and stepping forward. So just like if you have at the end of a play, right? People come out and Albert may come and he takes his bow, and he was the swashbuckler, and he brought all these things in the chariot, and someone was this and someone was that. And so they've kind of let their mask, when they've taken their bow, they're letting their mask, they're holding it in their hand, so to say, and the actor and actress is coming forward and taking the bow. So that's part of the revelations that are coming through. And one of the reasons that the unmasking of love absolute is going to be such an incredibly powerful and essential tool for each of us is that people will be astonished, absolutely astonished. So if you've seen a lot of things and you understand playing with different things, what's going on, I guarantee you will absolutely be astonished at what really is so and what is really coming forth from everything below the fold and all the details of that to everything above the fold.
Well, I'm first of all, I'm in full agreement. And what you just said there for me speaks to the experience with the van and what Lisa just shared, in that this was the fourth vehicle that they had taken. And I feel as well that one of the biggest reasons that it happened the way that it did, in that the moment, I was here, and as a complete outsider, I watched how this family handled this situation. And the very moment that it all happened, like I said before, Jasmine went straight into her heart, and she didn't like the idea of the fact that if they were caught, the police would be coming up with guns drawn on the vehicle. She was so concerned for their welfare. Here they had just taken their transportation, and her concern was for these people and their lives. And that, for me, like I said, when you look at what all happened there, more than likely what happened with them being taken to jail was more the best thing for all of them, because they were homeless. There was a lot going on there. And so they hadn't been caught before. There was no expectation. There was no holding it that we want these people punished. There was none of that. None of that at all. And yet it turned out the way that it did. And I as a witness to that, that's what I kind of take from that. There was an unconditional love that was held. And it really feels to me as though the best outcome for all concerned is what took place. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a small example, but for me, it's also rather huge.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's what we're experiencing
because
globally
when we talk
now.
about love absolute,
that's what's happening.
Oh, right.
You must be frozen.
No.
Keep going, Lisa.
I wasn't. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe we were frozen. I didn't mean to talk over you there. I was talking, you were talking. I just think that's what's happening globally. Yes. I think that we have got such an infusion of love, which I equate to bright light data, is on board now. And so it's going to move us all in the direction that is required. And, for some that might look painful in this moment of now, but it's obviously what needed to happen, because what was happening can't happen anymore.
Right. It simply won't stand anymore. From purely a frequency energetic match base, it won't stand. It's not because, they got tired of doing it, or they're not so good at doing it anymore, or we don't like it anymore. It's just the all of the conduit that supports the energy frequency will not stand. It won't hold it anymore. It just cannot coalesce. It cannot hold its structure anymore. No. It cannot hold a cohesive. In fact, it hasn't for quite some time. Hasn't been able to hold that cohesive structure for quite some time. But there was enough residual impetus being put in by other beings, just, maybe even some listening to this conversation right now, in feeding it, maybe unknowingly or any of that kind of thing. But that has run out because the the channel of the energy frequency has up leveled in such a hyper accelerated way. And then all of the individual beings, even if you think some are still sound asleep, they've moved in their sound asleepness, so that even the frequency that they've carried has changed. It seems to a lot of people that they're still sound asleep, but that's because your frequency keeps up leveling. So you're in a hugely moved, expanded frequency neighborhood, and everybody is going in that, in that direction, to the newer landscape of that frequency. It's just so it seems like, looking over there, they're still really snoring. I don't, right? They just haven't, they're not matching you because you keep making jumps, huge jumps.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, and honestly, it is still all a choice. And at this point, even though the frequencies have changed and they are moving, there are some that are still choosing to be in fear. I don't get that, but I really do feel that as long as those that are still choosing that, because it may not be someone that's watching and participating now, but there is this question. So why, if this is the case, why is everything so chaotic still? Why is this still going on?
Because people have stuff that needs to come out, be integrated. Those distortions need to be resolved. They need to be. You don't have to get on the couch and take 20 years to to investigate it all. And my mom did this, my dad this. It doesn't happens in a nanosecond.
Right.
I was seeing this visual. I was reminded of those plates where you put the sand on it and you run the frequency through it and it creates a geometric shape, right? So I feel like we are the sand on the plate, and the plate has steadily been cranked up in the vibration. And when you shift from one cohesive structure, one geometric shape to another, before you see the new shape take place, you're just seeing a lot of excited action. There's no cohesive structure whatsoever. Suddenly, there's just random chaos, it would appear. And things are just jostling and jumping about, and nothing looks like anything at all. And then, if you continue to observe, right before your eyes, a whole new structure takes place.
That's exactly so.
And takes shape. And the higher the frequency, the more complicated the new structure is, the more detailed it is. And so I feel like we are in that place where everyone is excited and jumping around. And so, yeah, you could look at that and say, this is total chaos. Hey, it's actually getting worse. We at least had cohesive structure back here. Yes. And the exciting thing is we're jumping into place for new, expanded structure. And this structure will allow even more of our detail and our brilliance to be seen. And that's an exciting thing.
And the not the right word. I'm trying to grab it the right way. So that which rules that new structure. This is not at all. It's a terrible place, but I'm going to go with it. So that which rules, what guides, what sets the tone, sets the benchmark, right? Sets the parameters, sets the guiding light. All wrong, but you're getting the idea. Is love absolute? And so there's a new, as Lisa mentioned, there's a new structure. There's a new cohesive structure that has more expansion and more possibilities and more scope. And the beauty of it is that the structure is not structured. Like you have a structured calendar, or you've got a structured play date, or you've got a, whatever it is, right? It's not structured at all because its structure is the structure of flow. And its structure is the structure of multidimensional cohesive consciousness. And so that is its structure, and that is what gives it coherence, gives it resonance. But sometimes one thinks, in a structure like it has four sides or walls or benchmarks, the bottom and the top. But where we are going, and for the most part already are, and a lot are experiencing it right now, maybe in little tiny bits and in very large bits, is that we're going in that place. And so there's far more freedom than, well, we all thought we had freedom and we didn't, but there's far more freedom in your very best visualization or kind of detailed picture you might paint of freedom in what we're creating right now. And this doorway, this portal, this gateway, this threshold, this corridor, which isn't a corridor at all because it's not confining, that's opening right now, is bringing that forward. It's not out there. It's not someday, maybe. It's not kind of sort of down the road. It's right here, right now, right these moments. And the chaos, I forgot who to ask the question, but the chaos that people are perceiving is the actual creational force does not have a delay to it anymore. And it's not masked anymore. The creational force is not masked anymore. And the reason it comes with the perception of chaos in the maybe the definition that many hold of what chaos is, that it seems disordered and random and bad, just bad shit's happening all over the place, right? And it's because we're used to our filters, and our filters, our filters of how we looked at things and how we were programmed into looking things are falling away as well. They're being unmasked. Make no mistake about it, whether you understand it or not, know it or not, grok it or not. Everything, everyone, every system, every structure, every whole parameter of anything is being unmasked to reveal what it is.
Well,
Reveal the truth.
As for the chaos that you speak of, I see very clearly that, we actually did a conversation once where we talked about the chaos that happens as there's creation, right? There's chaos, then there's creation. But so we've got, actually what we've got, in my view, my feeling of it, is that it's a double whammy because of the fact that we have the crumbling of the old paradigm structures at the same time as the creation of the new. So of course there's a lot of chaos, and with the addition, I guess you could say, it's not really an addition, but you add in the factor of all of those that you still could term as sleeple, that still haven't really gotten the memo yet about how they've been lied to and programmed and conditioned all their lives. And they too are bringing this forth for themselves to see, because it's not like, well, ask how many of you, 24 of you in the chat room right now have tried to red pill, folks. It just don't wanna.
Well, and things happen, occurred, you brought to you circumstances, events, experiences, all those kinds of things to wake you up to, because y'all were snoring, we all were snoring pretty loud, to beat the band on surround sound stereo, right? And we brought various things to us to wake us up. And so these beings are bringing the chaos, right? They're bringing that. Washing machine comes on. You have something you've been working, or you're playing rugby and you had a great time, and you're sore and you're bruised and you have fun, and your clothes are just a muddy mess, and you put them in the wash machine and you put it on full and heavy, right? Because this is some fun play. We need to make it clean again. So what does the machine do? It agitates it, right? It's got to take it. It's a push me and pull you. It's agitation. And why do you think the drum on the inside of a wash machine has a spiral shape that goes through it so that it can move it? It's actually turning the things inside out. The way that the clothes lay in there, it actually turns them around. If you mark the position, if you can figure out a way to mark the position of a piece of clothing the way you layered it, it is not the way that it was when it goes in. In fact, it's not only the complete opposite and inverted and turned around and all, because, well, that's an excellent metaphor for exactly what's happening for each being. And one thing I wanted to add from before what you were saying, Sheila, is that there's another, it's a torsion tension that you're seeing too in the chaos, because you've got the implosion of all of you into you, and the unwinding and unbinding and the complete, demolition, deconstruction of the false construct, and the blooming, the burgeoning forth, right, of all that's being, it's simultaneous, right?
Right.
But you've also in that tension torsion, right, you've got the polarized inverted ascension or descension, right, and the polarized expansive acceleration ascension. And so those things are, in addition to the coming down and the expanding out, is got a torsion tension field where, so the torsion goes like this, and they're kind of I don't know how to do with my hands, but there's kind of two magnets. They repel, but they also, when you pull them, sometimes you try to pull magnets apart, and they're hard. It's hard to get them to go apart. Yes, so you take two of those that are having reversed magnetic fields to each other, and they're both cohesive structures. That's also accelerating and enhancing the perceived chaos, because for a while one was outweighing the other, and that was the whole masked part, that was the whole contrived part, that was the whole false construct, that was the whole slavery system and them and whatever you want to call it. And now, because that has been inverted, that's the other reason there's so much perceived chaos. In order to see with all of your sensory array what had been shown to you as, hey, that's just the way things are, or that's the way the law works, or that's the way school works, or pick anything, right? Now you're seeing the inverted nature of it all. So it seems like what was right is now wrong, or what was up is now down, because you've been standing on your head all this time, and you've been walking around upside down, and you didn't know it, and someone turned you over and go, hey, look at that. And you're like,
a light bulb.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything looks new.
So that's perceived chaos, because you're like, well.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say this to everyone, and before I take off here and get tired and ready to crash, I just want to say this. Love, there's no one born with hate in their heart.
No.
Love comes from within. If we teach each and everyone, when they're small baby to all, we all love our kids. Where it breaks down at, somewhere along the line is being taught within, the hatred. But we know that love overtakes it all. Some way, somehow, some shape and form, it does overtakes it all. So we can't give up. For everyone, keep going strong. Keep shining your light. Don't matter what it is. When every day you get up in there to the day you go to the time you go to bed at night. Keep shining that light. Some people might see it. Some people won't see it at all. They might be blind because their light is so strong.
Yeah.
So, you know, for those that can't see it, all I can do is just hold love in my heart for them.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like to say good night, all. Love you all. Peace out. Love, peace, and happiness.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Sal.
Yeah,
all later.
thanks for hanging,
All right.
Albert.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That was a
All right,
pleasant
baby.
surprise.
All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
it was. A big surprise to both of us. I had no idea he was going to do that.
I've been waiting a long time for him to do that.
I know, right?
I've been very good. I haven't been, you know.
I know.
So let's see. Lori Wheeler wants to
Okay.
say yes. Cymatics. Lisa made me jump up. I have been trying to get people to understand the frequency change from Pisces to Aquarius and the in-between. Great job, Lisa.
Aw. Thank you.
Yeah, Tiger says that Lisa M. Harrison's latest video speaks about how time jumps are creating a type of spider web that's trapping the service to self people. There's more to what she shared, but that's what she could remember.
Interesting.
Ron's talking about the veil is going away so we can see the truth. And Deneen really liked what BZ was having to say. And she said, Lisa loved the music analogy.
Mm.
Teresa says, I find it to be the natural cycle of creation. Heck, we knew everything was upside down and inside out. And East Girl said, it almost sounds like ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos, return to gnosis. Donovan Meyer said 90% of everyone I know still believes everything they see on the news. It's going to take something massive to wake them up.
Oh, well,
And-
you I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
And that could very well be true. but
You
I
don't
would
have to
say-
wait
I would
long
say-
because they're gonna
Massive is
don't
on
have to
its
wait
way.
long. They're gonna play their ultimate card. They haven't, you know. Was kind of just off the cuff, sort of silently, softly mentioning this to people, and they kind of look at me, and you know, we had some other interesting distractions, but it's coming. You know, I would imagine shortly. I don't know, in early summer-ish, and it will be here. And so
Early
again,
summerish.
trusting.
Oh my.
Trusting yourself and your knowing of what your knowing is. So are you choosing to go from fear to knowing? Because when they pull it, it will be fast and furious. When they pull that card, when they play that card, and you know, my thought, if I was a strategist, you know, on their side about how to do it, well, I wouldn't do a super big city. I would do it where it could get some things, and of course, I would CNN would be right there, just happen to be, you know, on tap with an ENG truck and all that kind of stuff. But I would do it more in a bedroom, a big town, a big city that's fairly large but very close to a big city. And now I just realized I kind of described stuff that's not very far away from me.
Oh, did you now? Okay, well.
You know, because
Oh
but
my.
for this, and I'm pretty certain that everybody here knows exactly what I'm talking about is the card that they're going to play. And it will look, but there are ways that you can tell immediately.
Well, just for the slow in the room, would you mind? What do you think the card is?
Oh, it's a false flag alien invasion.
Well, I was gonna say that's what I thought, but you know, hey, I wasn't sure. I've seen lots of jokes on Facebook. You know,
Yeah.
bring in the aliens. It's time for the aliens.
Cue the aliens.
Yeah, and they will. And so one of the things, that's where this unmasking love absolute. So all the beings here in this, right this moment, in this live energetic envelope, there's no mistake why you're here, because what you can, how you will process, what you will play with, how you will come to whatever it means for you of unmasking love absolute. And then what I just mentioned, because you will be transmitting out to others. It may be you transmitting out to one. It doesn't have to be, hey, did you know there's, I'm not talking about that. It's just the frequency that you transmit out.
You're
Well,
knowing.
then you're transmitting to a node point being who will then transmit out there, right? So just what I'm saying, if you, there's lots of graphics on the internet you can find that are like telecommunication hubs, where it has all the lights and that goes across the globe, and you can see those bands. So that's what I'm talking. If you pictured being that, and their transmitting capabilities, it's really important for all to get a jump on that now. And as we jump on that, we jump forward through this portal into what is opening up, because it will, yeah, that's my supposition too. It will help to bring all that through when you have the bookend of this. Remember, the last eclipse, in this series comes on July 4th. Interesting timing. It's the
I know. I love
second,
that. It's so delicious.
the second time
about
ever that it's been a free country celebrating the 4th of July, and it's been a full, it's been a full year, because before it was just a little bit of time, and now it's been a full year. And so that's part of it. But sorry, I lost my flow there. But that is one of the things that has been in the playbook and thought about and bringing up. But you can see, if you look, you can see lots of decoding that's out there, not just, aside from the jokes on Facebook, cue the aliens. Yes. But, I know that. Okay. So the flow was with using the unmasking of love absolute for each one of us, each one of you, and so on, as you transmit that through, because by your unmasking it, you transmit. You don't have to say anything in particular. You just carry it now in your field. And so you are now transmitting that and being a beacon of that. And that is a signal that people can easily match. They can go, oh. And so without consciously necessarily doing it.
I was just going to say, they don't even have to know.
Right? They can then, and then that makes the light bulbs go on. That makes them go, and then they'll hear something, or there'll be a trigger, or there'll be an intersection of expansion, and they'll go, and the scales will fall from their eyes, right?
Well, yeah, make no mistake, as far as I'm concerned, that's already been happening. That's why, in my view, that is actually quite a bit, in my view, why we are seeing all of this come to fruition now. Yeah. All of those node points, all of you that are watching this, all of us and more, those that would call themselves light workers, those that would, and truthers too, to a degree. I would love for both of those to the truthers and the spiritual community to be able to hold just a little bit for themselves, because there are those who think this is all woo-woo, and there are those that don't want to look.
Yep, they're going to get a crash course in expansion.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I do think that that's been an exponential ripple effect, and quite frankly, partly why spread out, all those nodes are actually spread out in the manners in which they have been all this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
so-
Absolutely. That's a very good point to mark there. And it's interesting, not only Q, but all sorts of other things have been telegraphing that all along, with the metaphors they use, or the slogans, which are actually metaphors, which are actually vibrational signature, hooks to catch part of your field, so that you go, oh, right, it's like a plug into a decode of a packet of information download, either that was already residing fully within you, or that you then went, oh, and the mail drop, the energetic source mail drop sent it through about what's going on. But Q, just to Q in specific, has been alluding to and referencing that and foreshadowing all of that with Where We Go, When Where We Go, with Trust the Plan, all these kinds of things. It's far bigger than just, the linear thing to it.
Well, I want to address this because Lori Wheeler said, I'm also wondering if this 5G frequency they're going to put out will make people see others as aliens when they're not, like the MK Ultra type of thing. And the only thing that I want to say, and I want to say it because for me personally, what I can't point to it specifically, but I do know that there have been, Trump has done a lot when it comes to this 5G thing. I don't think the 5G is the same 5G that's being reported on, because the company that was slated to manufacture the equipment for the 5G, and that is the company that Trump put the stop to with an executive order, the merger between Qualcomm and Broadcom.
Huawei
was the first.
Huawei is the company.
Right, and Huawei. That's right. That was the first one. But there's also been another one that's come out. And so I really do not think, I know that there's a lot of fear and a lot of stuff going on out there about 5G, but I can tell you, I did not realize it, but I think we've had 5G here in North Carolina for some time, if not turned on. It's at least, because my computer right now is connected to 5G. It says so in the Wi-Fi, and I don't know. So
well, it's been more than a year now. Yeah, more than a year, where Richard Grinnell, actually, before he had been a couple months before, I think it was, before he, maybe not quite a year, but before he was as the acting DNI. So he actually did a tweet which was, I had different thoughts and different information on all range of things coming in about a lot of what you just said, in an expanded picture of that, of the 5G and all that kind of stuff. But for me, the super linear confirmation of that was also tied to some other things that were linear of what I was getting in, is he made a tweet. He was talking about England, Australia, Germany, and one other country. Because he was the ambassador to Germany, right, at the time, and he had actually had several big jobs that he was doing, totally unrelated, so to say, but he's a trusted guy that they could use. Anyways, he led a tweet that said, just had a great conversation with the president, and I'm about to go into my meetings with, and he listed, those countries around 5G, and it's on the IAV Twitter feed, but he talked about how, and this is just paraphrasing, that if those countries went with the 5G formulation companies that we have chosen, or that we've picked, or whatever, something along those lines, then everything else that's been in the works for negotiations with these countries will be smooth sailing. So that's the paraphrase of it. So in other words, pick these things because this is the one that the U.S. is going with, and this is where. So that's that was to me a crystal clear signal that was to let people who were awake and paying attention to it and 5G itself, knowing what's going on, that things had been realigned within that and taken to a different threshold. It was also a confirmation for those leaders that had been in place, and here was your chance to make your choosing. Because make no mistake, behind the scenes, everybody knows exactly what's going on and exactly what's coming to a close, and exactly the chapter and verse that they've all got that is held on every single one of them, right? And so this was a public way to talk to, as we talk about a lot in our decodes, multiple constituent veins to say, this is what's going on, and this is what will stand now, and this is what has been not the right word, but reconfigured, just a good, kind of pathetic placeholder, but there you go, of what 5G has done.
Right. Well, I just know that I've ever since he signed that first executive order stopping that merger, and then there was, like I said, there was another one that it's not coming to me, that it's a non-issue. Yes. I realize there are those out there who either don't know or don't feel into it or are still on the orange man bad train that just can't really get it that this has been handled. And to each his own, everybody.
Well, at the same time, it's a frequency thing, funny how that keeps happening, but it's a frequency thing. And so depending on the choice and choosing that each individual being, who's incredibly powerful and not small at all, makes, they can switch and align their reality with a frequency and substrates of and mechanics within that are alignment to different things. And so that's each individual's choice, because nothing will interfere and countermand your free will. It doesn't mean that it will affect anybody else's, but it's your choice. You are the expert for you. Source, that's the golden rule, that you are the expert for you, and Source and all it adheres by that. So if one is choosing, right, that frequency and all the subsets that go with that, and the formulated structures and so on and so forth that go with that, you're the expert for you. That's what you've chosen to be your experience. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And it actually, yes. Well, Kathy actually was just saying it baffles me that people don't see that you're correct in that. Everything is frequency. So Kevin Westring said, maybe if folks are watching the evening news and their favorite newscaster turns into a lizard, that'll sure wake them up. Well, yeah. And honestly, I really do. I've said this before. I feel like all of this that has been going on is testing. How awake are you? How sovereign are you? Are you going to be complicit and just give your tacit consent?
Are you going to keep being complicit? Keep being complicit, because everybody's been all in hog-tied complicit already.
So it is very possible to expound a little bit on your. I do feel that if you are unmasking your own love absolute, if you're standing in love absolute and maintaining that frequency while somebody's watching the lizard, the anchor man turn into a lizard, it's not going to do that for you.
Right.
Right. Because
and that's the point. So if there's news reports and you've got your work community, your community, your family community, whatever, all those different sets, and all those individually and collectively, right? And there's an announcement, or hey, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if it was right near here and I could go right there, right? That's part of your job that you agreed to coming here, is to be that transmitter of holding that knowing, of holding that space, of reaching out your energetic hand and your physical as well with the love absolute, with the, let's actually start to truly see with our whole sensory array what is actually going on here. And not to fall for it, just like this is kind of funny, just like, Trump's not taking the bait with the Chaz thing down at the CHOP. I don't know, I guess Chaz was a little too shazzy, so they had to go to the CHOP because, they got to chop people, or I don't know, whatever. But my great state, and and my bang up governor, he's a piece of work. Anyways, so right, so that we can mitigate that. Actually, it's not even mitigating, is not at all the correct word. That's a terrible word for this. We can infuse our energy from within us to the furthest extension of our field, right? So we're not pushing anything at anyone, but we can infuse it. We can fully power up. We can fully beam out to the full extension of our field, which, some could be, having a little bit in our field because they're standing close, or whatever their relationship is, or, however lots of configurations for that. And just being that will give off, some people may, move away quickly. Some people may be like, deer in the headlights, because that light, what is that, right? But it will also, that's funny. So it's almost like you're handing out 5D glasses when this thing occurs, and when they put them on, they can see a movie, a video of what's really going on, and they realize it's just like a 3D movie. It's just a trick of that. Although I think it's interesting that I said 5D.
Well, it's very interesting period that you're talking about glasses, because there are those in the chat room that have brought up the 1988 movie with Rowdy Roddy Piper called They Live. And and that's all about glasses that they're like sunglasses that show the real.
Yeah, I've seen
that's that movie, Lisa. I told you I wanted you to see.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. That's interesting.
Well, yes, Rowdy Roddy Piper was a WWE star, and he starred in this movie. It's, it's cheesy, it's the 80s, and it's all in black and white, but it's very, very interesting. And so I really wanted Lisa to see it. We just hadn't been able to find it anywhere.
Well, that was a video that came in, so I pictured the video was all the beings that are in this energetic element now were in their localities when this is unfolding, and they, in a kind of a hip, got this cover, standing, fully in embodiment, empowerment, and they whip out their glasses, which are the 3D type glasses, and they're like, yeah, hey, and they're passing them around. So obviously y'all sent that video to me.
Yeah, there's quite a thing going on here about So Kevin said they're supposed
You're going robo. If you can hear us.
contract is void from. All right. Am I still?
Not now, but whatever
No,
you
now,
said
but
was.
yeah, you got to repeat that.
Kevin said, we got that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was their supposed contract is void from its initiation, void ab initio, as it was wrought with fraud to begin with.
Yes.
Fawn said, yes, instead of sunglasses, it's masks. If you take the mask off, you'll see the alien fangs or something that would get rid of the masks. That would get rid of the masks, is what she said. That would get rid
The
of
sun
them.
is spectacular again, BZ, or
Yes,
your
it is.
soul. Say.
I want to, this is sort of off topic and sort of not, because
Okay.
it is about masks. Kathy Ashby is sharing, and I think, Lisa, you shared something earlier, how Florida is making a mandate.
Yeah.
Even if, when we were kind of discussing this before, even if there is some sort of mandate,
It's
if
not
I'm
a
not,
law.
if I'm not, or a law, that deprivation of rights under color of law that BZ has on the IUV is your ticket to ride, people. Go to the IUV. I will put this in the show more section again.
The only reason I had it
print
right
it
here
out,
is because
carry a
Lisa was
copy with
mentioning that, and I was like, hang on. I gotta read this. I'm sorry. Out loud to say.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and actually record that tomorrow, BZ, and put that out as a standalone video.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna record the wording in that. But yes, I recommend
We
to
could even
have
do a short
copy of
decode
that.
on it.
Okay, let's do that. I would love that.
A short decode on that, and we could pick one counties or two from two different states, counties, what their verbiage is, and how you can see in this what this is. Because when this came out, when this got updated on the 4th and then re-updated again on the 19th of May, they were incredibly careful about how they not only word but say, because that's all in the matter of public record. So they're on record of saying these things, because it's not just written and things don't disappear on the internet. It's not just a video or an audio or a speech or those kinds of things. But here's one of those times where it's handy and helpful in the expansive way, that everything, absolutely this and everything else, is recorded in the super mainframe computers of the NSA. And so it can all be logged and tracked and pulled back up. So they're complicit. They're not only complicit, but they're indirect, and not only they're indirect, but their direct culpability, intentional, like we had the conversation before in there. And that's kind of what goes into, right when we were talking about this before,
Right.
Doing our own off camera kind of a decode about it. But yeah. And this is interesting. So that's a good point. This is one of the, was it Fawn who said that the fangs would, cause you to unmask? But this is actually a very helpful tool to help you unmask Love Absolute.
Yep. Well, Fawn just said, I find myself staying away from the stores that require their employees to wear masks, like Walmart. I have to say, I agree. And I would go one step further. And I would let them know that that's why you're staying away. I think that's what has to happen.
Right.
for me anyway, and I let the employees know whenever I do have to go in somewhere and I see them wearing masks, I let the employees know, you don't have to do this.
Right. Well, and there are some sort of, like, there's a feed store here and a couple other things. They don't have masks or any of that kind of stuff. And I have a good relationship with anyways, but I always go in and tell them I appreciate them, and it's great, and they don't need it. So why is it that, this beer bug, man, is uber brilliant, like it can, it's incredibly, I mean, Fauci man was a good designer because he's got this beer bug doing, really cool tricks.
Amazing, spectacular things.
Depending on where the venue is that it's hanging out. And I mean, you can beat the ever-living, excuse my language, shit out of someone on the street, because it's a peaceful protest, and no beer bug would come anywhere near you. But God, forbid that you're over here doing like a mother taking her kids to the park. And
which is pure evil. We all know that.
Send in the armed militia because the bug is fierce in that, or jogging, solo jogger down, miles of beach.
No,
Okay.
I know. Listen, when I just can't handle it. Lisa and I were on our way home on Sunday, yesterday, and there's a lady all by herself, nobody around but us in a passing car at the bus stop in the heat in a mask.
In the heat. So they have double-blind studies of heat. And it's North Carolina, so I'm just guessing there's a wee skosh of a bit of humidity, right?
Oh yeah.
That it tells that in less than 30 seconds, bug's gone. Should the bug actually be there?
Yep. But standing all by herself at a bus stop,
and that's why
outside, mind you.
And that's why the masking of love absolute is essential. And that's why every being's role in that and their conscious, intentional unmasking of that for themselves in every one of their bodies, in every fiber of their being, in all of the reach and scope and breadth and depth of their field is essential, because that changes the pitch and the reach and the carrier wave. Okay, I mixed a couple metaphors there, but of your sensory array and its transmission capabilities. That, a linear way to say is you can shine that light of love absolute and it's almost as if you're putting out, so okay, video's going off the charts. So apparently now you're out in space and you're kind of floating, and these people are having a hard time, and so you can put these platforms out that rises them up, that gives them stability, that gives them oxygen, that lets all of their capabilities. What does oxygen do to really supercharging your immune system and your faculties and all those kinds of things? So your ability to do that really enhances that for everybody else, because it's just out there, and then they have to avail themselves of it.
Yep, that's true. That's the whole thing. It's whether or not you're going to take responsibility for yourself in these moments of now. And really, it doesn't really take all that much.
Yeah.
Just I don't know. Well, I'll just speak for myself because I question everything. And if I want to know something, for crap's sake, it's too damn easy to type it into Google. Hell, now you don't even got to type. If you got a smartphone, you just say, hey, Google. Oh, Jesus, I probably just activated my phone. No, I didn't. But I mean, it's just too easy these days to ask a question and find something out.
Well, and especially as you use Google as a reference, they've shifted the algorithms or throttled back their inverted, punitive, and restricted algorithms. So you can ask these questions and you get chapter and verse of what is true and known by many, but not known by a whole horde of other people. You know, if you type in all sorts of terms where you used to get nothing in return, crickets, or, you know, some completely, totally different thing, now you get lots of pictures or you get lots of information.
Yep. Well, we got a couple funny things. Tiger apparently carries a Mardi Gras mask that goes over the eyes just in case. I think that's funny.
Yeah, right. You're wearing a mask, man. Like a cat mask, right? You know?
Yeah.
Got my mask on. I'm wearing a mask. He says you must wear a mask.
There it is.
I love it.
And Fawn said, I'm telling y'all, she pictures Daffy Duck when his beak gets smacked off in the cartoon.
Right.
That's
And it's
what people wearing a mask looks like to her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that's hysterical.
well, for me, one of the things, you know, I can't wear a mask. But one of the ways that I would describe it too is that it's so deep and so visceral and so heartfelt is the it would be the end of my existence to do that. And that's fully knowing, absolutely, that I'm eternal. At this pivotal moment that we're in now, at this shift and changes, this portal that we have just crossed into, that's what it would be for me. So someone coming with a, you know, all the Ginsu knives that there are, and it would be far less of a thing to, you know, kind of thwart or repel than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't wear one either, but more than that, I won't.
Right.
And quite frankly, you can't make me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All these people out there going, well, they're making, no, I'm sorry. There is not, I don't think there's somebody big enough to try to make me wear a mask. No,
and you have, and this it goes again to, it's interesting, but this is unmasking love absolute, because there is no fear when you're in that. There is no trepidation when you're in that. When you hold that, when you are that resolute and knowing of that, it's incorporated in every, you know, fiber of all of your beingness. And so you also have tools. I mean, this is one right here. This is a tool right here.
Kevin Westring, you said something very interesting there. Do you have a link to what you're saying? Kevin says you not only show them this, but also remind them that they are in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yes.
At a clip of $50,000 per person, they require to wear one. So if you have a link to that.
Wow.
Yes, send me the link, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'll put that
that should go on the card.
And then I'll put it with this. I'll make a PDF of it that's downloadable, and I'll put it on here. And I'll also take it and I'll go and get the insignia from that, so that when you print it out, see, because this has this has got the DOJ insignia. So when you hand this to someone to look at, it's not just, you know, something that came off the internet. This is, right, it's directly, it's got the special, you need the special characters in the thing. So there'll be the same thing for what Kevin's talking about. So I'll take all the pieces and put them together like this, so you can just print it right out.
Okay, I
And
appreciate
take it
that.
with you.
Kevin
Yeah,
is also
awesome.
saying, Kevin is also saying that if they quibble more, remind them that if there are 2 or more perpetrators, then you will have to sue them under RICO statute.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, no, that's awesome.
America's mayor is in my right hand pocket, and Giuliani, and he's yeah. And so, you know, you can say, well, I'm just doing my job. Well, yes, but there is no shield of corporate liability that holds you, that you can hide behind. There isn't there anymore.
Right. Lori, I want to say to you that I don't, honestly, sweetie, because she's saying she wished she had a printer. You could pull it up on your phone and take a screenshot of it and save that screenshot to your phone.
Well, what you can do is download, Lori, go to the IUV and download the PDF onto your phone. And if you don't already have it, it's a free Adobe Acrobat app, and it'll save it in PDF folders for you, so it's easy for you to access. When you hit it, it'll go from just a phone reading small text, it'll go to a PDF reader form, which makes the font, even on a small little phone, right, makes the font much bigger and easy to read. So you can pull up a section, turn your phone, you know, lengthwise,
right,
and they'll be very easy to see, you know, like
she says she doesn't have a smartphone. Lori Wheeler, get in touch with me. We'll figure out a way to get you a copy.
We'll help you.
a library.
There we
go. A library
there
will
you
print
go.
it to you, print it for you for free.
Yep. Yeah.
Or, you know, depending on
Westring's killing me. He says, me no law stuff.
yeah, can he send the links so I can do that?
He said he's got to do some digging, but he said he will. So we're counting on you there, Westring, you and your law stuff.
And they also, within that same section of the regulation, they cannot, it's actually a finable, prosecutable offense for them to ask you why.
Yeah.
It's not there. It's privacy statutes, it's HIPAA statutes. So it's a whole host of statutes that I don't know the right word for it, but it's like they stack on top of each other, and they're like a sentence would be concurrent, you know. So the fines, you know, so they get them all. They don't supersede each other. You pay this one and this one and this one and this one and this one.
Right.
And Barr has actively said on many different places, tweeting and through his department sending it out, and interviews and stuff, that they're actively looking for this happening and will get involved in these things. They won't let it stand.
Well, thank you, Make Earth Love Again. Lori said anyone who wants one, she'd be happy to print and mail. So Lori Wheeler and Make Earth Love Again, if you guys want to hook up together, because I'll tell you what, Lori Wheeler just said too, they've made it mandatory there, so she's not sure she can get into the library. So, but I, honestly, you know, I realize that not everybody's as bold. I joked in a live the other day and said, it has been said of me that I have some great big huge brass balls, big enough that you got to have a wheelbarrow to, and I get it that not everybody is me, but believe you me, we'd be getting into the library if I was there. Um, so yeah, if you guys want to hook up, that would be awesome. Yeah, it's called Deprivation of Rights Under Color of Law is what it's called.
Well, and I want to say something pertaining to this. Sometimes just my own confidence, my knowing the truth about a thing is all that's required. And it's just, like when we went to Costco.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was thinking
I just knew we were going to go and we weren't going to be hassled. And, sometimes just my air of authority is enough, because
It's absolutely
if the person is just following orders, their heart's not in it, okay? They're there to collect their $11.50 an hour. And there's something about sovereignty being embodied that goes unchallenged.
It's that knowing, and it's not combative.
Yes.
It's not adversarial. It's
Nope.
love absolute. I mean, this is what this whole conversation, it
Yeah.
really is. It's embodying that. And it's that knowing. You're tuned in, turned on, and connected. Your source. You're walking in the building, right? I mean, they're not stopping the source at the door saying, hey, man, you got to wear a mask, right? Doesn't. But if there's a question in your mind or your heart, then you're telegraphing that.
Yeah.
So that's why I say that we, it's all an inside job. The out there doesn't get out there until you put it out there. And so if there's something within you that you're not certain, or you're nervous or whatever, then great, then go play with that. Then go unmask your own love absolute within you and use different things to help you do that. The tools that we're pointing out are tools, but if you're not in your knowing, and you and just need a little practice at it, but you're kind of in that wavering, then all the tool, Bill Barr standing next to you is not even gonna quite help you. So that's why this particular conversation and the focus of it is so important, because now is the time to do that. So someone said, well, how do you do that? How do you unmask love absolute? Because and the kind of the subset question that seems to come up a lot with that is, well, when I think of love, or a bigger love or greater love or unconditional love, it always seems to be about certain things that we've been brought up or indoctrinated or taught to do. But as I said, I think it was off camera too, but it's a frequency field which has its own cohesive structure, and nothing is left out of it. There is no judgment or attachment to any of it, and there's no restrictive or punitive nature of it. It's 0 point as well.
Right. Well, I'm glad you did. That was going to be one of my questions, was for you to share what love absolute is. So thank you for that. But I have a question, because Christiane Gamble actually brought this up, and I don't know the answer to this. That there's, I guess, a question as to whether or not HIPAA was actually suspended earlier this year. I don't know the answer to that. I guess you probably don't either, do you, BZ?
Not necessarily, but it would be very odd that HIPAA was suspended in any way. That's it's privacy laws, and
Right.
Rights information. So I can't imagine any realm where you've got POTUS, particular POTUS you got right now, and Pence, like him or not, that you have him right there, and AG Barr, that ever being in the realm of possibility in any timeline. I can't say.
Well, the reason I think that comes up because there's I've heard this, not necessarily about HIPAA specifically, but I've heard this before in regards to, because I think I said once before, with all these employers, making their employees wear masks, I have said, well, it seems to me like there's going to be some lawsuits coming up.
Well, they absolutely may be saying, well, these are different times or strange times or the old rules don't apply.
Doesn't mean it is.
Well, that's cool. Just like they're saying it's mandated or this, that, but the truth of what they're saying is not even on the planet or the galaxy, couple light years on the other side of whatever. No.
Right.
But it sounds good. And and people go, oh, okay, all right.
Well,
should I put something over my whole head or just by mouth?
Well, that's what I keep saying. They can say they mandate it all they like. That does not mean it's a law. It doesn't mean you have to. If that's the case, I'm mandating right now that everybody send me $1,000. I mean, it's as ridiculous as that. To me,
we'll get right on that.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I said. You say
yes, but you haven't had your whole army of mainstream, media to. Well, and again, it's very interesting correlation.
Yeah, because none of those people ever lie about.
Well, no. I was going to say to the focus of this conversation, and you had just said, well, I wanted, I was going to ask to describe what love absolute is. So
right.
When you're coming from your heart and your heart is open, you open the door to, and you are expanding your consciousness. It just happens. It's, it is the way that the flow, that the energy works. So when they're talking about something, they're not coming, I'm going to reach for this again. I'm sorry. When we do have to do this decode, when they're talking about this, when they're peddling the mask, the mandate, the blah, 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 whether it's the store or the this or that, doesn't matter. They're not coming from an open heart, and the intention. So go back to 2 nights ago, and actually there's something. I've got to find a way to grab the chat history. Maybe there's a way you can download it, and I want to get it, and I want to take it and put it on the IUV with a link to it in the video, so people can, so you don't have to keep scrolling up or down or scrub through the video so you can see, because there's some probably always, I haven't ever seen them, but since you read them last night, the ones that came through, those are transmissions that are coming through from the being, they're channeling, or however you want to say. It's just your soul talking to you, basically.
Right.
And some of them were particularly stood out in my mind. I want to go back and look, but they were in, and then it was particularly around the one where the 3 were all put together. And they were giving, each being came through the one conduit. They were giving each being a decode for the times, and a download and a decode for the times they're living right now, about this mask thing, about unmasking love absolute, of showing you. There was one or two in particular. May have been, I know I have to look, and I'll highlight them. It was a clear statement. It was a clear, can't think of the right word, So POTUS comes on and he's delivering, not just remarks, but he's making a statement, right? We've just been attacked. We've just, had a jet jubilee. We've just whatever, right? So, it has some weight. It's got a whole thing. What I'm saying is there were two things that two beings were describing had the mass and the gravitas of that for right now in what is going on. And the accompanying videos that came in for me on what they were saying was opening of decoding it, of then unwinding and unbinding it within each being to then transmit it out, of the love absolute, unmasking it, of this as a tool, and they were all kind of lined up together to do that.
Okay, well, I'm not sure how I would do that, but I'll see if I can figure that out for you.
Yeah, you'd be the one to do it, because my guess is you probably have access to scroll through the whole thing.
Right, from the very beginning. Yeah, I'll work on that for you. Yep. Kevin wants you to know that he sent you something through Messenger in regards to the ADA. I believe he sent it to me and to you.
Okay. That's good, because I don't normally look there, so that's how you need to tell me. Because
and I want to say this in the video. Christiana's already seen it, but Make Earth Love Again. She's actually Lori, and she's the gal that did the invisible garment with me. She is, and she also did. We also did. A thing about her psychology, right? And so she is a provider, and she said to her knowledge HIPAA has not been suspended.
No.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't imagine any realm, maybe if you had a Democrat, or because I don't count Trump as a real Republican. So if you had a Democrat or Republican there, I could see that. It would fit right in with their thing, but no, I can't.
Yeah. Well, wow. This has been a really good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Covered a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
Because unmasking that actually does cover a lot of stuff.
Yes.
It's not just.
Well, all those other things are underneath it. So you unmask that, and everything, scales and masks and barriers, veils are just falling all over the place.
Yeah.
It's a big reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they didn't call it the apocalypse for nothing, y'all.
That's right.
Wow. Wow. And nearly everybody stayed all the way to the end. Ladies, we still have 23 folks with us. You guys rock.
How lovely. I know, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
best.
Well, do either of you have anything else you'd like to add to this energetic envelope before we close it?
Stand in your knowing. You're brilliant. You're absolutely spectacularly brilliant and beautiful, and you power beyond measure. So get used to it.
Absolutely. Lisa, you have anything you want to add?
No, just I love you.
You're just so sweet. Well, I love everybody too, and I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us. I will be putting another link to the deprivation of rights under color of law in the show more section of this video, along with the information that Kevin has sent in the video. Although I gotta be honest, I think the deprivation of law is the ticket. I don't think there's anything else required. And in the idea, under the idea with the HIPAA thing, honestly, I think that deprivation of law thing, deprivation of rights thing is the overall cover.
It trumps everything.
It trumps everything else. So I don't even have to, I don't have to say, I have COPD, I can't wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't need a mask. It's against my constitutional rights. I have the right to breathe freely, unencumbered. It is
Right?
part of my right to life. Hello. It is part of my right to life. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. So always laughing at me.
Well,
am I
you were
robo?
frozen
What's
the
up?
whole time.
Your rant went robo and it lost a little bit of punch, you know, but I got it. I felt it.
God damn it.
It was such a passionate plea that even though we couldn't hear you, we heard you.
Oh well.
But you know, you can, here's just one last thought on this. Just point. You know, you could take a highlighter and highlight certain things. Just you only need maybe 30 words on here. They're not all together. Just highlight them and go. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, no, that's right. So if you have not already subscribed to Conscious Conversation Central, I would love it if you would do so. And if you have not gone over and subscribed, if you are subscribed here, but you have not subscribed over at BZ's channel, there is a link in the Show More section. Please do go over and subscribe there as well. BZ does do videos that I don't do and vice versa. I do videos that BZ doesn't do. So make sure you're subscribed in both places. Make sure that you hit that notification bell in both places. Make sure that you like this video in both places. That would be very helpful. And I guess that's it for now. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I want to say. So,
Hi, Keegan.
oh, she's so gorgeous.
He's so gorgeous. I know. I love it.
So till next time. Mwah.
Much love.